Hello, and thank you for joining me for this tips and tricks presentation. My name is Ravi with Microsoft. Over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through some of the key points in Windows Vista that will help you find and use information much easier. We've incorporated a lot of enhancements here focused on improving your daily productivity, not only within the base operating system Windows Vista, but also within our next generation browser, Internet Explorer 7. Let's talk about some of these enhancements. When you're first using Windows Vista, you might be kind of overwhelmed by all the new functionality we have in the product. You might want to know, how do I best take advantage of all these capabilities? Well, first off, I think it's great you're actually listening to me on these webcasts. But over and above that, another thing you could do is actually open up the control panel. And in this case, you have something that's called a Welcome Center. Now, depending on how your IT staff has actually configured the images that you're actually using of Windows, you may have more or less of these items that you see here in terms of getting started with Windows. So if you click on What's New in Windows Vista, this would be a great way to actually get started with the product. In terms of understanding what's going on, from searching within folders, organizing files in new and meaningful ways, keeping your devices in sync, whether they're servers or handheld devices, portable media centers, and so forth, and a range of other capabilities as well. The first thing I'm going to demonstrate to you is Quick Search. We've integrated search throughout the platform, and we've made it extremely easy for you to find the information that you're looking for. As an example, when I click on what used to be called the Start button, you can see here that the word Start has been eliminated. I can click on this, and you can see here a Start Search dialog box. From here, I can go ahead and search for files, applications. You can see here I've typed 3 letters, C-A-L, and a range of information has appeared. This information can either be resident on my hard drive or resident on a remote Microsoft Office SharePoint server. If I choose to type in a couple more letters here, you can see how the search index actually gets narrowed as Vista quickly realizes that I'm looking for specific items that have that text string. I can also, for example, launch applications like Microsoft Outlook, and you can see here the program Microsoft Outlook appears as well. Over and above search, there are a number of other areas that we've innovated on in the Windows Vista platform. One other area is really around high-end graphics, and this is really focused on, let's say for example you might have 10, 15, 20 different applications open at any given time. Today when you use Alt-Tab, it's not really very convenient to quickly figure out which of the applications you're looking for. You might get, just simple icons for PowerPoint, for Word and Excel and so forth. Well, with Windows Vista, we now support a new generation of hardware. And this is actually taken advantage of by our feature in Windows Vista that's called Windows Vista Aero. With Vista Aero, you can see how the Alt-Tab experience has been enhanced. You can see here by simply having these 2 applications open, my Explorer and the desktop, you can see how I actually get a little screenshot, if you will, of what's going on within that application. Or I can take advantage of what's called Flip 3D and scroll through my applications like a Rolodex. But you can also get live previews of, in this case, full motion video. If we look at the taskbar, you can see as I hover over each of these, I can get a preview of what's actually occurring within that specific task. If I scroll over Windows Media Player, you can see the full motion video. Now, for example, if I chose to execute the Alt-Tab experience, you can see there the full motion video is also occurring, but it's probably most dramatic when I choose to actually use Flip 3D to actually scroll through the different applications I have open. Again, the full motion video renders in complete fidelity. One area we focused on in terms of increasing your productivity is around the Windows sidebar. You can see on my screen here I have what are called sidebar gadgets downloaded to my desktop. In this case I've got a game, I've got a clock, I would have a New York Times RSS reader where I connected to the internet, and I've got a Windows photo gallery as well as a connection to Microsoft Outlook. Now at the end of the day, what these gadgets are on my PC is irrelevant. The importance for you is that you can actually get access to business critical information. For example, let's say you are subscribing to a certain website, maybe a corporate website, and you want to get latest access to information that may be coming out from a certain division, product updates, release cycles, so on and so forth. You can actually monitor that here through sidebar gadgets. Or, for example, in the case here you see I have a New York Times reader, you can actually have this connected back up to your corporate intranet to maybe get access from your benefits organization, your HR organization. So there's a variety of ways you can leverage the sidebar. I was actually just talking to one of my customers a few days ago. They're actually planning on using this, thinking about using this for some of their customers, whereby their customers can actually consume media in a variety of ways. You can see here, for example, I have a photo gallery set up here. So for example, I've taken photos, I have them on my machine, and you can see that this is actually scrolling through a Windows photo gallery that I have based on my desktop. But for example, you can actually envision customers scrolling through photos, scrolling through videos, or maybe even subscribing to information that they're able to get through sidebar gadgets. From a development standpoint, if your organization is already focused on web development and what are called mashups online, then this is simply a representation of having those mashups, albeit physically, on your desktop. So, and also for those of you that may be familiar with sidebar gadgets, other companies like Yahoo and Apple and Google have done something very similar, whether they're called gadgets or widgets or so on and so forth. But suffice it to say, we feel that we have a strong developer platform. We have people developing sidebar gadgets every day. You can go up to our website and check out some of the new gadgets that are being uploaded for the world's pleasure. Now let's talk a little bit about the Search Explorer. The Search Explorer makes it easy for you to quickly locate documents located again on your hard drive or on remote SharePoint sites. What I'm going to do now is open up what used to be called My Documents. Now it's just called Documents. And you can see here all my documents have appeared. Now it's very easy for me to quickly, for example, sort them by the date these documents have been modified. In this case, let's say I want a stack. A stack is a new visual representation we have within Windows Vista that allows you to view the documents just as you would if you had them, for example, sitting on your desk. So let's say I want to sort them by or stack them by the date they've been modified, and you can see these visual cues now appear. Now I'm going to go in and open up, let's say I'm going to open up a long time ago. And just like that, I can go ahead and open up documents. I can open up, for example, a Word document here in Microsoft Office 2007. Now, not only can I pivot and search by the date a document has been modified, I can also search by the name of a document. In this case, Vista gives me the option to choose if I want to select documents that start from the letters A through H, I through P, or so on and so forth. I can also sort by document type. In this case, you can see a range of third-party file formats are supported by Microsoft. We continue to support more on a daily basis, and you have a range of different file formats we support here as well. And very importantly, let's say, for example, that I have all these documents here, and let's say I just want to, pivot by the name, and I want to pivot by Q through Z. Let's do that. So now you can see the documents now a long time ago, Q through Z. Now you can see all these documents are located across a range of different file folders. If I maximize the file folder location here, you can see they're located, most of them are in the Tips and Tricks folder, some are not. What I can do is what's called Save My Search. So I can save my search, for example, as Q through Z. This means I no longer need to remember where all these documents are located. I no longer need to continually search for documents Q through Z, but I can just go to what's called a search folder. In this case, once I save this folder, I now have within this folder here on the left-hand side of the screen a folder that's called Q through Z. So this might be interesting for you if you're searching for documents, for example, by certain customers, by certain partners, by certain maybe colleagues, or maybe by a type of document. Maybe it's an RFP, maybe it's a contract. So it allows you to virtualize your file system and customize it based on how you're actually interacting with Windows Vista. With some of our visualization enhancements, we try to make it a lot easier for you to quickly locate the information you need. In this case, I can view this information as what's called small icons, medium, or large icons. I'm going to view them as large icons, and I'm actually going to bump right up to my desktop here. So in my desktop, you can see here I've got a PowerPoint file, and I've got a Word document as well. Now here you get what's called a live icon, which is simply this pixelated image that provides you more than simply an icon. In this case, it provides me in a PowerPoint file the first slide that I would have within that PowerPoint slideshow. Or in Word, it provides me the first page of a document. Now, on the bottom side of this Windows Explorer pane, you can see what's called the Preview pane. The Preview pane allows me to not only get access to that live icon, but more importantly allows me to access what's called metadata. This is a new concept that we're really bringing to life within Windows Vista. You might know metadata best under what's called file properties within files that you might be using in Microsoft Office. What this metadata allows you to do is provide you yet another criteria by which to search for information. So in this case, I can search by author, I can search by some of these tags that may have been applied, and so on and so forth. So you can see now how we're really broadening the spectrum by how you search for information. It's not just the full text search that you may be used to from your internet searches and your desktop searches, but now you can take advantage, if you so choose, of this metadata searching capability as well. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see what's called a reading pane. This becomes most interesting when I have a PowerPoint slide set up. So let's say, for example, today I might not know what information is resident in that PowerPoint file. So what would happen? I have to double-click that file, open up PowerPoint, and scroll through the slides to figure out whether or not it contains the information I need. With Windows Vista and its reading pane, I can actually quickly scroll through all the slides here. In this case, this particular presentation has only one slide, but were it to have multiple slides, I could quickly scroll through the slides. Again, I haven't opened Microsoft Office PowerPoint. I don't have Microsoft Office open whatsoever. This is all from within Windows Vista. So now let's turn to the Windows Mobility Center. The Windows Mobility Center is simply a one-stop shop for you to actually customize, in a laptop's case, all the different settings that go along with it. And again, I should emphasize this feature is not available on desktops, but only on laptops and tablet-type PCs. In this case, I have the ability, for example, to turn on and off my wireless network access. So again, makes it very easy for me to do so all within the realm of this console. From a presentation setting standpoint, this is really interesting. I'm sure many of you have been in that embarrassing state where you're giving a presentation to senior management or maybe to some customer, and you might get an annoying little email notification, or you might get an embarrassing IM from a significant other or a friend. And it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to many of you as well. With presentation settings, you can actually now eliminate, if you will, what's called an IM toast from appearing, specifically if you're using Windows Live Messenger. So for example, when you walk into a customer meeting, you can simply turn off presentation settings. This will enable that IM toast to be squelched, but also it can also change the background that you have on your desktop. So for example, when you're working on your laptop sitting at your desk, you might have your favorite sports team, if you will, as the background. But when you go into a customer presentation, you might want a more professional looking background, and you can go ahead and customize that within presentation settings as well. You'll see within the Mobility Center that we've got some open space here. That's not because we've forgotten anything, but that's because we've provided areas of innovation for OEMs and hardware vendors to incorporate specific Mobility Center applets that may be very important or of interest to their items of hardware. So we're working with companies like HP, Dell, Lenovo, and many other hardware vendors as they choose to incorporate specific applets for their customer base. Also within the control panel, I want to talk about what's called the Sync Center. The Sync Center provides you with a one-stop shop for you to synchronize information between your laptop, for example, your Windows mobile devices, whether they're Windows Mobile Portable Media Centers or Windows Mobile smartphones, and also within servers that you may be synchronizing information with as well. Today, synchronizing all that information requires you to open ActiveSync. It requires you to open a number of other applications as well. All within the Sync Center now allows you the capability to incorporate all that information and make sure that you're able to access the same information anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Another area of innovation we focused on in Windows Vista is the Windows Help System. We know a lot of folks are using the Windows Help System to find the information they need, but in Windows Vista we've actually got one innovative capability within Windows Help out of all the innovative capabilities that I really want to demonstrate for you. It's called Show Me Step by Step. I'm going to show you how that works here by simply opening up Windows Help and Support. You can see here I can click on Show Me Step by Step. This will be an option that you'll have in Windows Help for various items within the Windows Help and Support system. In this case, what Step by Step is it prevents me from actually having to go through and read everything within this Help document. And instead of me having to do it for myself, I can just have Vista do it for me. So in this case, in terms of showing or hiding common icons on the desktop, I'm just going to click Show Me Step by Step. And you'll see here Vista is simply going to take control of my machine. And it's going to tell me, okay, the first thing I have to do is click Personalization. So it's already opened up Control Panel. I didn't have it open. It's going to open up Control Panel and say Click Personalization. I'm going to click that. You can see it's kind of waiting to see what the next step should be. And the next step is Click Change Desktop Icons. So like this, I can proceed right through until I actually get to the desired result. So you can see here how we've really bulked up the help system to be much more responsive, be much more reactive, and ultimately in certain cases simply guide you along to the result that you're looking for. Security was by far the #1 investment area for Microsoft in releasing Windows Vista. One feature that we've incorporated that I'm going to talk about now is called User Account Control. Gartner has stated that companies that use this one feature alone can save up to 40% per desktop. Now, let me show you what User Account Control is all about, because I'm sure you're going to interact with it in terms of its dialog boxes, and let's see why we did what we did. So, in this specific instance, I'm just going to go to the Control Panel, and I'm going to try to go ahead and just do something, relatively arbitrary, something I'm very used to doing today in Windows XP, which is changing the date and time. You can see in this case, under Change Date and Time, you can see a little shield there. that means that that's going to require elevated security privileges or administrator privileges in order to actually execute the operation. If I click on this, you can see here that the rest of my OS has actually been blacked out, if you will, the rest of my display, and the user account control dialog box has stated that Windows needs my permission to continue. Now this is just but one example of what IT staffs can now do to actually increase the security of the operating system. Ultimately, most users today, whether you know it or not, you're actually running as an administrator. Now this is actually bad from a security standpoint because this means that worms, viruses, and Trojan horses or so forth, should they enter your environment, will then have administrator credentials, allowing them to wreak even more havoc within your infrastructure. It was for this primary reason alone that we chose to incorporate this one feature that allows you to run at lesser user privileges. And ultimately, your IT staff will be able to tell you and will ultimately be the final arbiter as to what sort of privileges that individuals within your business have. Ultimately, the way you interact with this security feature will be through these dialog boxes. Now, you might find them to be a bit of a disturbance or a bit of an annoyance even, and I'm sure you've read about that in the press. But ultimately, we've done this to ultimately increase the security of the operating system. From a performance standpoint, Windows Vista is able to take advantage of these USB flash keys that are becoming relatively common in today's enterprise. Using the flash key, not only can you use it as a storage media, as you may use it today, but you can actually use it to increase the performance of your operating system. Let's see how it would work. In this case, I'm just going to plug it into the back of my machine here. And you can see here that Vista opens up a dialog box that allows me to actually not only open the folder to view files as I would today, but more importantly, speed up my system. If I click on Speed Up My System, this then gives me the option to then use this device, and in this case it's about a 2 gig RAM drive, to allow me to not only use that to complement the existing RAM that's existing on my machine, but more importantly, in the case of laptops, it allows you to spin down your hard drive, thereby increasing your battery life as well. So performance enhancements that we've incorporated in Windows Vista, now taking advantage of these USB flash keys. On the flip side, I should also mention that your IT administrative staff may choose to actually limit the control and usage of USB flash keys, and they are able to do so as well through group policy. So before using USB flash keys with Windows Vista, it's always a good idea to check with your IT staff as to whether or not this functionality will be supported. Another area we focused on within Windows Vista is around the area of performance and reliability. Specifically, we're focused on one of the scenarios where, let's say you're a field employee, you're a remote office employee, and you have a challenge with your laptop or your desktop system. Well, today what happens? You've got to either get on the phone or somehow contact your help desk, and you're stuck there in terms of waiting for the help desk to be available. Once the help desk is available, who knows how long it'll take for your machine to be up and running. All this time, ultimately, it's impacting your and the company's productivity. Well, now we've incorporated a tool within the control panel, and it's called the Reliability Monitor. The Reliability Monitor allows you as a tech-savvy end user, but very importantly also allows your IT staff to very quickly debug what's going on with your machine. We're providing them with much more transparency into what's going on within the platform. So you can see your user account control dialog box has appeared, and in this case I've got my resource overview, but what I want to open is the Reliability Monitor. You can see here within the System Stability port, I can view, in this case, software uninstalls, application failures, which is specifically what I'm interested in, and I can see these 2 specific instances have failed, and so on down the line. So it helps me as the tech-savvy end user understand specifically what's going on within my platform, and it may even drive me to uninstall or install certain software or hardware elements, but also, very importantly, it gives your IT staff more transparency into the inner workings of your environment. So now we're going to talk about Windows Meeting Space. Now, why would you use Windows Meeting Space? Well, let's say, for example, you're sitting in an airport with your colleagues. You're getting ready to jump on a plane, and you're going to be presenting to your executives at company headquarters. Well, today, what would happen? Well, all of you would be surrounded around one laptop, and everyone's kind of looking over someone's shoulder while they are actually working on that machine. So this is kind of, a pain in the butt for people that are working there, and more importantly, it's not really the optimal way to actually harness the productivity of all the individual employees. With Windows Meeting Space, this allows you to quickly collaborate on ad hoc networks, for example, airport networks or hotspots and coffee shops and things of that nature, and quickly collaborate on documents. So let's see how this would work. So now I'm going to open up a new session within Windows Meeting Space. I'm just going to start a new meeting by entering my password here. And Windows Meeting Space will open up. For those of you that are familiar with our live meeting product, you will see that it looks somewhat similar to the live meeting application in that you have one window here where the application that's actually being shared can be viewed. And on one side of the screen, you can see participants and resources. In Windows Meeting Space, we have what are called handouts. These, for example, could be additional or reference documents that you might want to provide access to other individuals that are collaborating on your peer-to-peer network. So in this case, I can just go ahead and add a handout. It says handouts will be copied to each participant's computer. I think that's great. And I'm just going to go ahead and just click this document here. Apologies. And just like that, it's very easy to actually add additional resources or handouts to a peer-to-peer meeting. Now, in terms of sharing programs or sharing my desktop out, I want other people to see my desktop. I'm going to click OK. And I've already got a PowerPoint slideshow open that I want to share with other individuals. So I'm going to click Share. And just like that, it's been shared. So now you can see it, Windows Meeting Space is open right here. You can see it says here, you are now sharing. So in this case, it says give control, take control. In this case, this allows me to pass control between other individuals in this meeting. So let's say, for example, there's somebody within the peer-to-peer network who may be either very good at PowerPoint or may have a particular interest in certain slides. Well, today, instead of all of you huddling around someone's laptop or passing a laptop around, you can simply pass control around within Windows Meeting Space. Additionally, within Meeting Space, if I so chose, I can actually see how my shared session looks on other individuals' computers, giving me an idea as to whether or not they're actually able to view the content and if I need to adjust any resolution or screen settings as well. So in sum, Windows Meeting Space gives you the ability to quickly collaborate with other individuals that you have trusted, doing so in a very secure fashion, and allows you to do so in such a way that you can quickly collaborate on peer-to-peer or ad hoc networks. So now that we've talked a little bit about Windows Vista, I want to turn my attention to Internet Explorer 7. Now, as I open up IE7, I'd like to mention that all the enhancements that I'm going to be talking about within IE7 are available in the version of IE7 that ships and that will be part of Windows XP Service Pack 2. It'll be available as a standalone download. So IE7 is part of Windows Vista that I'll be launching here. Of course, will look very similar to those of you that are using IE6 from a browsing experience standpoint. One thing we've done is to make it a lot easier for you to actually view the text on a page by, for example, changing the different text sizes. So in this case, I can view text sizes and I can change the text size just as I do with IE6 today. But another interesting enhancement from a productivity standpoint is really around the concept of tabbed browsing. This allows me to have a range of different web pages open, albeit all within the same browser window. So this might be of interest to you when you come into work in the morning and you might want to have access to maybe your business scorecard information. You might want to have access to your company's stock price. You might want to have access to maybe your email, your company homepage, and so on down the line. Now in this case, I'm going to demonstrate this by opening up a public website, in this case msn.com. I'm just going to hold the control button down and click on Health and Fitness. This will enable another tab to open. You can see here the MSN Health and Fitness tab has opened within IE7. And I can go ahead and open up further tabs as well. In this case, I've opened up the Aging Well tab, and I can open the Fall into Weight Loss tab, and so on down the line. If I chose to actually have a separate browser window open for some of these applications, I could simply right-click on this and click Open a New Window. And just like that, a new instantiation of IE7 would open. Now, I have a range of different web pages here, but how do I make sure that when I come in the morning, I don't have to go through and open all these web pages again and again? Well, you can actually save this tab group as what's called a favorite. Just like you have with IE6 today, I can go ahead and add this group to my favorites, in this case add a tab group to favorites, and I can just go ahead and call this Health and Fitness, for example. So the next time I come into work, I can bring up my Health and Fitness tab, you can bring up your Business Scorecard tab, or whatever you so choose, and you can have all the information you need all in front of you, all within one browser window. Now, sometimes the information might get overwhelming. You might have 9, 10, even more browser windows open in front of you. So what you can do then is use what's called the Quick Tabs. The Quick Tabs is very similar to the slide sorter view within Microsoft Office PowerPoint, allowing you to quickly view all the information that you have in front of you. In this case, you can see I've got 4 different browser instantiations in front of me, and I can choose to go ahead and close some of these sites as I deem fit, or I can just go ahead and click on them, and just like that, the home page will appear. It's allowing me to quickly navigate through all the information that I have. I can also use this drop-down menu here, this tab list, to quickly go through the various tabs that I have open. Another area we focused on in IE7 is around printing. Customers have told us that when they choose to print pages from IE6, quite frequently they don't get the information they need. They might only get the ads on the left-hand side of the screen, their pages might get chopped off, and in general it really hasn't been the most pleasant experience. Well, we've made a lot of enhancements to Print Preview within IE7 now to make it much more reliable such that you actually get the information you're looking for. In this case, I can choose to go to Page, and actually I'm going to do this by going to another website. I'm going to go to our MSDN page, which is a much more text-heavy page here, as you can see. Quite frequently the pages that don't print very well. Now in this case, I'm just going to click on this Print tab here, go to Print Preview, and you can see here it's what's called shrunk to fit. So now I've got all the information that's on that MSDN web page. Although you couldn't see it all above the fold, if you will, you can actually see it all within this web page right here. I can choose also to view it, for example, at 90%. So IE7 makes it a whole lot easier for you to print the information you need, and you can even, for example, in the case of maybe very text-heavy pages, you can choose to eliminate headers and footers. It's just as easy as simply clicking this dialog box here in the toolbar and allows you to eliminate that information, and might save you some paper as well, so you can save the planet while you're doing it. Now, it's not just productivity that we focused on within IE7, but it's also within the realm of security. Unfortunately, one threat that we're seeing on the rise now is phishing. For those of you that are unaware what phishing is all about, it's really when an unscrupulous organization or individual tries to access your personal information by posing as a fraudulent organization, or excuse me, a legitimate organization. So, for example, I was the subject of a phishing attack a few months ago when I reportedly got an email from one of my financial institutions. Well, it turned out when I clicked on one of the links that was within the email, I went to some very odd-looking website. Now, I kind of suspected that something was wrong, but I actually had to send an email directly to my financial institution to verify that that indeed was a phishing email. Now, in IE7, we make it a whole lot easier for you to detect whether or not a website is actually a legitimate website. You can simply click on Tools, and within Tools, you can go to the phishing filter. And in this case, I can choose to what's called Check This Website. So you can see here Microsoft has immediately told me this is not a reported phishing website. Microsoft actually is able to keep track of all the different websites and continually works with security organizations to make sure that we're up to speed on what domain names and what URLs are being used by unscrupulous organizations. And in this case, I can rest assured that this is not a reported phishing website. And so I am much more open to placing my personal information within this domain. Another area we've focused on in terms of security in IE7 is the ability to clear your browsing history. In this case, it's just as simple as going under Tools and clicking Delete Browsing History, and it makes it very easy for me in this case to delete temporary internet files, delete cookies that advertisers and other organizations may have placed on my machine, and so on and so forth. Whereas today, for those of you that are familiar, this actually exists under Tools, Internet Options, Security. There's a range of different tabs and clicks you have to go through to get to what just took me one click right here. So again, security and productivity, two primary innovations we've incorporated within IE7. Within Windows Vista and Office 2007, we've tried to make it easier for you to collaborate with colleagues, partners, or customers. I'll show you one capability we've incorporated into these two platforms called XPS. Now, XPS allows you to share documents and share information with colleagues or partners that may not necessarily have the original authoring application you used to create the document. Let's say, for example, you're using Microsoft Office Word 2003, and the person you're sending it to may not even have Microsoft Word. They might have another application. So what would be a way for them to actually view the application? Well, let's go through how that would work. Now I'm going to go through and open up a file. I'm going to open up a standard Office file here within Office 2003. It's actually an Office 97 file. So now what I'm going to do is attempt to print this document. I'm just going to open up the Print button here, and it'll give me the option here to actually print it as what's called an XPS document, or in this case, to print it to an XPS document writer. When I click OK, the first thing I'm going to have to do is actually save it as an XPS document. So I'm going to save it as just test.doc, and it'll be saved with the file extension .xps. So now it's been saved. So now let me go ahead and close this file, and let me go back to my desktop, and you can see I have this file here that's called test.doc. I'm going to open up test.doc. In this case, within Windows Vista, I actually have within IE7 an XPS viewer. But here you can see within the XPS viewer, you can scroll down. In this case, you can see what's actually going on within this document. And you can see I'm not opening up Microsoft Word or anything whatsoever. I've done this within the XPS viewer that's available within Internet Explorer. I also have ways, for example, to view, in this case, 100%. I can view it smaller, just like I can within Microsoft Office Word. So you're not losing any of the capabilities that you're used to in terms of previewing documents within Microsoft Office Word. It just gives you the ability to do so outside of Microsoft Office Word through this brand new file format we have called XPS, allowing you to more effectively collaborate with customers, partners, and colleagues. Another scenario we focused on in Windows Vista is what I like to call the oops scenario. It's where you mistakenly delete information, and in Windows XP you wonder, how do you get it back? Well, if you're sitting in a business today, as I'm guessing you are, you probably have to call IT, they'll have to back it up from tape, and it's a rather time-consuming process, but most importantly it impacts your productivity. In Windows Vista, we actually take advantage of some technologies that we've already been delivering in prior versions of our products, specifically Windows Server, to allow you to quickly go back to previously known good versions of the document. Let's take a look how this would work. Now I'm going to open up my documents here. And let's say I'm just going to pick a random document here. I'm going to pick the Constitution. So I've got a file here called Constitution. You can see here it's the U.S. Constitution. Now let's say I choose to go ahead, I'm going to delete all the information here. I'm going to mock up, let's say for example, if I chose to mistakenly delete some of this information. I'm then going to save the changes to Constitution. I'm going to click yes. So now when I click on Constitution, you can see here as Vista refreshes, you can see there's nothing there. Oh no, what do I do? Well, with Windows Vista, you can now simply right-click on this document and click on Restore Previous Versions. This allows you to go back to previously known good versions of the document. You can see here you have a document from what's called a long time ago. In this case, it was modified a couple of years ago. But more importantly, you see the location is what's called shadow copy, which simply means that Vista has actually saved a version of that document. So I can click on Restore. Vista asks me if I want to restore the previous version of Constitution. I'm going to click yes, click Restore. Now the file has been successfully restored. And so you can see here, if I go back to Windows Explorer, I can actually see the full Constitution and the full document that I had initially. So by this one little capability that we've incorporated in Windows Vista, you can see how it makes your life a whole lot easier, especially focused, again, on that oops scenario. So in sum, we've talked about some of the productivity enhancements within Windows Vista on Internet Explorer 7. We've talked about some of the searching capabilities. We've talked about some of the mobility enhancements we've incorporated within not only the Windows Mobility Center, but also within Sync Center. And we've talked about some of the security and productivity enhancements we've incorporated in our next generation browser, IE 7. I hope you found this session very useful, and good luck working with Windows Vista.